Assalamu alaikum viewers. Today we are discussing about scalar and vector quantities. What is scalar and what is vector quantities? Physical quantities which have magnitude, but there is no need of direction. Only magnitude and there is no direction. So such kind of quantities we will say that they are scalar quantities. Scalar quantities are the simpler one which can be easily solved by subtraction, multiply, divide, or addition. Examples in a daily life we mostly see, or we can easily see them: mass, length, time, speed, distance, volume, temperature, heat, energy. All that one are the scalar quantity. Why the scalar? They have only magnitude but not direction. So what if anyone has a direction along with a magnitude? Vector quantities. Vector quantities have magnitude and so also a particular direction. They are called vector quantities. Vector quantities can be added, subtracted, multiplied. Same rule, algebraic rule. There's no difference in it. Examples, common examples daily we use in the daily life are velocity, displacement, acceleration, force, weight, torque, moment and momentum, and etc. So many examples are present in the physics in our life. Now the question is that how the vector quantities can be represented. How vector can be represented? We can represent vectors by an arrow. Arrow is so much important in a vector. Why? The length of arrow represents its magnitude, but the head of arrow always shows the direction. That's why arrow representation is important one. With the arrow we can easily find any quantities, that whether it is a scalar or vector. How we can represent? You can see the vector north, east, west and south. We can say that north, the direction will be on n, north. If we say it's moving to a south, then the direction will be, head of the arrow will be on the south. So representing the vectors with head is direction showing, and the magnitude of the vector represent 5 centimeter, 4 centimeter is magnitude. Multiplication of a vector by a number. This questions mostly the students who are applying on the MDCAT, MCAT or even the Neet. They should know how the vectors can be multiplied. This is an important question. When a vector is multiplied by a number, it remains a vector quantity. Whenever it multiplied with any number, it will always remain a vector quantity, never a scalar quantity. Mostly these questions is given in MCQs and MDCAT, that when a vector is multiplied with a number, whether it will be a vector or a scalar quantity, the students become confused one, and their answer is not as correct as they know the theory. Here it also clears that whenever any vector is multiplied with any number, it will be a vector quantity. If a number, say n, is positive number, whenever the number is positive, the magnitude of the vector is also positive, original vector, and its direction remains the same. Its direction remains the same. It will be never change. Same direction of the same vector. For example, if we have a vector f of 2 centimeter length and will become 4 centimeter if multiplied by 2. 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. Here it will become 4 centimeter. A vector of 1 upon 2 centimeter multiplied by 2. 2 multiplied by 2, 2 will cancel 2 and the answer will be 1 centimeter. Simple algebraic rules. When a vector is multiplied by a negative vector, same one, if negative vector is -2 and the vector is multiplied, then what the new vector will be? the new vector will be 2 times of the magnitude of the original, but the different thing and you can see is the direction. Now the direction is opposite one. Why? Just representing the -2. That's why the direction will be changed. Direction will be not the same one because here is the -1. Negative vector. Most importantly, confused by the students that whenever the two vectors of same magnitude, one of them have a opposite direction of the first vector. They are the same whether their magnitude is same, but the direction is different one. One is for the opposite to the other, so it's the negative of the first vector. So you can easily represent these vectors, represent now lines of the vector like this one. Or here we can say A is a positive one, but here you can see B same magnitude, but the direction is changed. It will be a negative of the vector A. B is the negative one and A is the positive one. Why? Because A has a positive and B is the negative of the first vector. So we can say that A and B can be represented like this one. And easily you can find both of them, which one is a positive and which one will be a negative, respective of their magnitudes. Resultant vector, easy. Whenever two combining of two or more vectors. Whenever two or more vectors combine to produce a single vector, you mean resultant vector. Single vector combining the vectors, all vectors is called resultant vector. You can represent or you can write, or is a resultant vector is equal A plus B. You can easily find out the resultant vector. Resultant vector will be a new vector or the same one. Head to tail rule. How vectors addition can be take place? Addition of the vector will be take place by the head to tail rule. Whenever two or more vectors can be added, they be added by the head to tail rule. It's a simple rule which tells us that the head of one vector will collide with the tail of another one. That's why we called it head to tail rule. This method of adding vectors is known head to tail because first vector's head is always add to the tail of the third vector. It has two methods, vector addition. When vector acting along the same line you mean a collinear vector. Their resultant of the number of vectors are acting on the same line and their sum can be easily added their magnitudes. Like if vector A is 5 Newton plus vector B is 3 Newton. You mean write 5 Newton right and the 3 Newton is left. You can add them. 5 plus 3 it will be 8. So you can add them easily one. Now here it says that when the vectors are acting in a different line, then what it will be? If they are representing a different one, the resultant of two vectors acting along the different line, they can be added or drawing easily. You know that head to tail rule will be applied on them, but their addition will be a different one. How they can be added? 5 plus, if anyone has to turn 5 Newton on right side and plus 3 Newton on left side, right and left, 5 minus 3 it will be a 2 Newton on right side because 5 Newton is on the right side, 3 Newton on left side. So you can easily find by subtracting the 3 from 5 it will be a 2 Newton on right side. So whenever they are representing vectors on a different lines. Now what if the vector are a subtraction of the vector? Subtraction of the vector is so simpler one and is important one. How they can be subtraction of vector can be done? You can easily see if a vector B is subtracted from a vector A, so then they can be write like this one, A subtraction B. but B subtraction A cannot be found the same one. They have a difference. Now A subtracted from B. Whenever they are subtracted, the subtraction of vector also you can say R is equal, resultant is equal A plus minus B, or you can say that A minus B. Both have the same way. Like this one, you are representing the vectors. Here is a first vector A, here is a B, here is B. When two vectors A and B, you can represent in any way. But if they are two vectors but then B is a negative one, you have to opposite. First one is positive, second one is negative one. And when you are finding the R resultant, then you can say in the subtraction of the vector, both vectors will collide with their head, not head to tail, and the resultant will find with the tail of the both vectors. So the students become confused in such kind of diagram whenever comes in the MDCAT or MCAT. They find it that it's only confusion whether it is subtraction, it is addition, what, or it is a multiplication, division. They do not have exact idea how to judge or find which vector it will be. So it's a commonly easier one. You will see that whenever the two vectors, you can see that both heads are the colliding with each other, and the resultant which is joining them or their tails, it means it is a resultant of the subtraction of the vector. So you can easily find. Please like and subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching.